Pokemon Uranium is one of the most popular and beloved fan-made Pokemon games of all time. It has a good story, some really cool Pokemon, and unique features, like some gyms being based around a theme rather than a type. But there's one major issue that really affected my enjoyment of my first playthrough. The starter Pokemon are incredibly unbalanced. The starters in general aren't great for the early to mid-game. They each only evolve once, in the late 20s, but their stats are only slightly higher than starter Pokemon from the official games who all evolve at around level 16. This makes them all pretty difficult to use past level 18 or 20, since the Pokemon you're fighting are a lot stronger than you. But one starter in particular stands out as being especially difficult to use: Raptorch. Let's take a look at why. A good starter Pokemon should be reliable and be able to get you through the first couple of gyms. You should be able to depend on it to get you through tough battles, and it should be one of your strongest team members throughout the early game. But Raptorch really struggles early on for a couple of reasons. The first one I want to look at is typing. All the starters have two types, which is an interesting change from the normal, but Raptorch's typing feels more hindering than helpful. He's fire and ground type, and if you know anything about Pokemon, you probably know that's not a great combination. It's particularly not a great combination in Pokemon Uranium, where the early game is full of super effective water and ground type moves. There are both wild Pokemon and trainer Pokemon with those two types of attacks in almost every single area up to the third gym. For example, Barul, Grozard, Turlard, Fortog, Breelip, and Folarog, all of which have names that make Licky Licky and Munkidori sound normal. Considering you'll have 40 HP, 45 defense, and 50 special defense until you evolve at level 29, you're guaranteed to faint or lose huge chunks of your health on a pretty regular basis. So Raptorch will struggle against wild Pokemon and random trainers, but what about gyms? The first gym's normal type, so you've got a neutral matchup. Then the second gym is mining themed, so there's a lot of Pokemon with ground type moves. And the third gym is beach themed, so it's full of water type Pokemon and grass types with water type attacks. If we compare Raptorch's typing to the other starters, Orchynx and Eletux, we can see that those two will have a much easier time in the early game. Eletux is water and electric type, so it's super effective to all the water and ground types that Raptorch struggles against. It's also useful into the second and third gyms. Eletux is weak to ground, but stab water moves mean it can hold its own against ground types. Then Orchynx has one of the best type combinations in the game, Grass and Steel. Steel is the best defensive type, and having one in the early game is especially useful since a lot of Pokemon have limited movesets, so you'll resist a lot of their moves. Grass neutralizes your weakness to ground, so Orchynx is only weak to fire and fighting, both of which are pretty rare early on. You're 4 times weak to fire, and there are fire moves from S'more and Pahar to watch out for, but they're not the most common Pokemon in the world, and S'more doesn't get stab on its fire moves since it's just bug type. Orchynx is also great into all 3 early game gyms, as it resists the normal types in Gym 1, and has super effective moves into Gym 2 and 3. Next, I want to look at base stats. Most starter Pokemon average around a 310 base stat total. Raptorch fits in with them since his BST is 325. Eletux has 335, and then as if Orchynx wasn't already good enough, his BST is 350. Not every starter trio needs to have even base stats. I think it would be a good idea to give one starter a higher BST if it would otherwise struggle early on, but it feels like rubbing salt in a wound to give the Pokemon with the worst typing and game matchup the lowest stats. Also, speaking of rubbing salt in the wound, Raptorch evolves at level 29, while Eletux evolves at 27, and Orchynx at 28. Even if a Pokemon has bad typing, low stats, and a bad matchup into the game, it can be saved by learning some good moves. But unfortunately for Raptorch, he gets the short end of the stick once again. You get the Giga Drain TM straight after the first gym, which immediately makes Orchynx the starter with the best early game moveset. Even without Giga Drain, Orchynx still learns the best moves, since he gets Leech Seed at level 5, and then Vine Whip, Metal Claw, and Hone Claws. Eletux gets moves you'd expect, like Water Gun and Thunder Shock, as well as Aqua Jet at level 17, which makes up for its low speed. He also gets Stomp, Spark, and Magnet Rise. Raptorch, however, gets Ember at level 5, which is fine, Mud Slap at level 13, which only has 20 power, Flame Wheel at 19, which uses its lower physical attack, and then Magnitude at 25, which also uses physical attack, and is pretty inconsistent. This unreliable moveset is the cherry on top that makes Raptorch really difficult to use compared to the other two. It's weak to a bunch of common early Pokemon and it can't do much damage to them in return. Also, it's a special attacker whose best special attacks until it evolves will be 40 base power or below, so in most battles you'll use an attack, do a small chunk of damage, and then probably die in 1 or 2 hits. Thankfully, once you evolve your Raptorch, he gets a lot better. Achilles has pretty good, well-rounded stats, and I think the final forms of the starters are all evenly matched. With higher attacking stats, Achilles can do some good damage, and once he gets better moves like Flamethrower and Dig, he becomes a bit of a sweeper. Also, his higher defenses mean he can actually live some attacks, and maybe even a few super effective ones if you're lucky. Metalynx gets good stab in Leaf Blade at level 31, and is obviously great thanks to its typing, but it's held back from being too overpowered, since he doesn't get a steel move that's both accurate and strong until Meteor Mash at level 51. Finally, Eletux has the highest stats, and gets the incredible moves Thunderbolt and Scald at level 37 and 33. They also all have really strong Mega Evolutions who can carry you through the endgame with their crazy high stats and useful abilities. Mega Metalynx has Heatproof to negate its 4x fire weakness, Mega Eletux gets Drizzle to power up its water moves and give it perfectly accurate thunders, and Mega Achilles gets Drought to make its fire moves stronger and help it take less damage from water attacks. The last thing I want to look at is what could have been done differently to make the starters more even in the early game. In other words, buffing Raptorch. His typing holds him back a lot, but I don't think making him a pure fire type would help all that much. His stats are still way too weak to keep up with evolved Pokemon in the mid to late 20s. Speaking of stats, the first change I would make to Raptorch would be to swap his physical and special attack, and increase both his attack and speed to 75. This would make his BST match Orchynx, and he mainly learns physical attacks anyway, so we might as well invest in that. Speaking of moves, I would swap Mud Slap for Flame Wheel, and then swap Flame Wheel for Dig, as well as bringing it down from level 19 to 17. I went for Dig over Magnitude for more consistent damage, and a good ground move will help him deal with Deerul and Fortog, who he would have previously struggled against. I would also swap Magnitude for Flame Burst and bring it down to level 23. These are some pretty strong moves for this early on, but I think Raptorch needs them to keep up. And Orchynx gets Giga Drain really early, so Dig at level 17 doesn't seem too overpowered. I'd also maybe make the Will-O-Wisp TM available earlier, so Raptorch has a utility move and isn't just limited to attacking. It could maybe be on Route 4 or in Comet Cave, which are just after the second gym. I think those moveset and stat changes would be enough to keep Raptorch usable until the mid to late 20s, so just before he evolves. But if I wanted to change more, we could also put more grass and bug types in the early game, rather than the abundance of water and ground types. Or we could make the second or third gym themed around a forest rather than mining and the beach. I really like Pokemon Uranium and I really like Raptorch, but how the game is now, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by picking him. I've played through twice, once with Raptorch and once with Orchynx, and I had two massively different experiences in the early game. One, where I swept through the first 3 gyms with pretty much no issues, and another, where I had to switch train my starter for 14 levels. If you've played through Pokemon Uranium with all 3 starters, leave a comment to let me know how Eletux compares to the other 2. I've never used one before, so for this video I had to make an educated guess on how good he would be. I plan on using an Eletux the next time I play through the game, so let me know what other Pokemon are good to use alongside him. I was thinking of using S51 and Oblivicorn. Thanks for watching and hopefully, I'll see you next time.